quiet village of Amityville, New York, nestled far enough off the beaten path that one would never know of it, is a house whose past sends shudders down any spine. Seeming structure with covert history so dark that it would even make surging with life terrified. It is the Amityville Horror, a narrative cloaked in darkness and dread that has haunted the halls of terror for 40 years. It was the autumn of 1974 when leaves swirled seemed to have an evil mind of their own, and every night grew just a bit more chill, that a brutal picture of violence unfolded in these very walls. It was a cruel farce which set the stage for a horror story of such magnitude as the world had never experienced before, nor will likely ever see again. On the surface, the DeFeo family appeared to be paragons of American normalcy. Beneath, however, lurked a nature far more malign. And into this house, which was soon to become infamous, Ronald DeFeo Jr., full of youthful vigor and tormented by rending inner demons which he could not exorcise in any way at all, moved with his parents and his brothers and sisters. That November night was so cold it burned the lungs with its touch of encroaching winter. Ronald DeFeo Jr. committed an atrocity which defies belief. In one fell swoop, he wiped out his whole family as they lay sleeping, their final breath mingling with the stifling night air. The police next found a gruesome tableau, bodies scattered about like so many ghosts, the product of an almost transcendent act of savagery. With eyes blank as an abandoned tomb, Ronald confessed to this butchery and assigned his own terrible deeds to reasons that were solely subjective. But would these not be more accurately labeled excuses? What if they were not simply hallucinations but the echo of something more sinister? In December 1975, a new chapter began at the DeFeo house. The Lutz family, George, Kathy, and their 3 kids, moved in to start anew. They had no inkling that their new home harbored a darkness beyond anything they had ever imagined, an abyss that would consume their most basic fears with ease. From the moment they entered, something was wrong. The house seemed to breathe on its own. Whispers of secrets it held nestled in its ancient walls. The Lutzes were about to uncover a truth that would forever change how they saw the world. The past never actually dies. Waits. First indications were subtle. Chill in the air where there was no draft. Whispers sliding through near darkness. Yet over time, these discomforts worsened. As night followed day, blurry sparks of malice began to manifest themselves outside the loveless zone. Doors slammed shut with the violence, indeed, one might say force, of a hurricane, and shadows flittered at the edge of your line of vision as if to tease or terrify. One night, George Lutz woke up to a sound that scratched and clawed tile. The very air was rancorous with decay, a smell so tangy it seemed to be eating away at the very fabric of their sanity. And then came their voices, unspeakably sibilant words hissing from behind those 4 walls, telling them that they should flee for their lives, escape from an encroaching doom. In the pandemonium of horror, one room stood out as the center of their fright alone. Described as having an oppressive, constrictive atmosphere, it was as if the very walls themselves were squeezing in on them. The so-called blood room became a nexus of the haunting, where a nameless fear itself seemed to ooze from every surface. A strange red liquid resembling blood was discovered by the Lutzes in this room. The family declared. What it was they could not say. On this point, all agreed with a shudder of horror and revulsion. It was known as a place of evil, where objects moved of their own volition and temperatures plunged without warning. No doubt, it was a place where fear was not merely felt, but tangibly palpable, a suffocating pressure that pressed the life out of those unlucky enough to enter. But just how much could these assertions be true? This traumatic setback will be turned into literature. The Lutz family's horrible experiences in 1977 became the book The Amityville Horror, written by J. Anson. When it was published, the eyes of the world peered at it ardently. The Amityville Horror caught the public imagination, becoming not just any horror story, but one that had also happened in real life. In 1979, a film was made of the same name as the book. Although it was fictitious and sensationalized, this helped to further establish horror Amityville. In particular, many more people had the terror of this house etched indelibly in their memory as a result. Soon it was more than just a residence, the very symbol of darkness and suffering. With fame came doubters. As the story spread, some suspected the Lutz family's claim. There were investigators who came to look around the house. None of them could find any conclusive evidence that anything supernatural had taken place there, rather giving the impression it might have been made up or exaggerated. Some who questioned the Lutzes' story faulted them of money-making motives. The research into their claims has been full of discrepancy, and many people can't help wondering if something causes that horror story to exist in the mind, rather than as a factual occurrence. Despite its controversies, the Amityville house endures. Property inside has changed hands several times. One major purchaser tried to change the number altogether in an attempt to avoid interest. And yet, this silent witness to its dark history still has those dark, glazed, and impenetrable eyes. Today, as living proof of the shadows of history, its walls still resonate nightmares to anyone who would listen. The Amityville Horror still captivates and terrifies generations of people who hear its story. The Amityville Horror has had a lasting effect on popular culture. It has given birth to a string of books, films, and documentaries, with each one layering on more to this already intricate and terrifying tale. The story lives, a brutal reminder to man of the power of fear and the unknown. Whether you believe in the haunted house, the Amityville Horror, or that it is really a story of terror, the line which separates fear from reality is hazy at best. From that sprouts our understanding of unknown things, then is molded. So, what is the truth behind the Amityville Horror? Is it a genuine supernatural happening, or merely a story of terror made up to scare people? People do still argue this point today. One thing, though, is perfectly clear. The saga of the Amityville house continue to fascinate and horrify coming generation. Thank you for joining us on this sinister romp through one of the most haunted houses in American history. If you enjoyed this grim narrative, please like, subscribe, comment, and for more hair-raising twists and turns. Stay curious, and until next time, watch out for the shadows.